the late 90s, Marvel was on the verge of bankruptcy, and to have a fighting chance, they sold off multiple characters from their catalog. Spider-Man went to Sony, Hulk went to Universal, and X-Men, Fantastic Four, and the subject of today's video, Daredevil, was sold to Fox. A script for a Daredevil movie was written, and Kevin Feige said the script was the strongest Marvel had ever received. Fox just said, go big or go home, and raised the budget for the movie because of the success of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And filming began with Ben Affleck as Daredevil and Jennifer Garner as Elektra. Critically, the movie did pretty bad. It had an incoherent story, bad visuals, terrible writing, and a lot of internal inconsistency.
Daredevil is the sort of half-assed, visually lackadaisical potboiler that makes you rue the day that comic book franchises ever took over Hollywood.
Though financially, the movie doubled its $78 million budget with $179 million. This left Fox in an interesting situation. The movie didn't completely bomb, but it was nowhere near the heights of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. So Fox was like, maybe we can make a franchise out of this, and decided to test the waters with an Elektra spin-off in 2005, and it did even worse. And for a full decade, this is where Daredevil died. Outside of comics after this movie, he was nowhere to be found in any type of media. It completely tarnished Daredevil's reputation. But in 2013, there was hope. The president of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, confirmed that Daredevil's rights had reverted back home to Marvel, and that Netflix would be giving Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage all their own shows, leading into a mini-series based on the Defenders. I can only assume this format was chosen because of the success of Phase 1 of the MCU. Season 1 of Daredevil was released in 2015 and is the greatest superhero show of all time.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
You already know this, so I won't be going in depth and breaking down every single thing that makes it a great show. Maybe that can be saved for another video.
Stop laughing!
Everybody loved Daredevil. It was nominated for a bunch of awards and completely dominated the competition. Season 2 dropped in 2016 and Season 3 came out in 2018 and were great as well, but we don't talk about the other shows. Some of those are good, but this is a Daredevil video. And this show being so good is all because of the cast, crew, and technically, Netflix. This show got me into the Daredevil character and most definitely swayed public perception of him. Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock and Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk are great leads, and that isn't to discredit the side characters. John Bernthal, Eldon Henson, and Deborah Ann Woll are all great as their characters, but the center focus of the show is Daredevil and Kingpin. Seriously, this show would have completely failed if their rivalry wasn't solid. Matt and Foggy's friendship, Karen and Matt's relationship, Frank and Matt's conflicting philosophies on how to make an actual difference. The hand subplot in the second season kind of took me out of it, but I get it was to set up Defenders, but that doesn't excuse it from being rushed and shoehorned in. It's okay though, because they came back swinging with Season 3. Matt goes on a journey of self-discovery, the introduction of Bullseye and his origins is just a really good show. And the visionary behind the show is Drew Goddard. He pitched an R-rated Daredevil movie to Marvel, but they opted for a show, which Goddard liked the idea of. But eventually, somewhere down the production pipeline, Goddard had to step down as showrunner and Steven DeKnight stepped in with Goddard still consulting. And the reason this show is so good is because these guys know their shit. Behind the scenes of the series shows the cast and crew's talents, passion, and appreciation for what they're making. And then it got cancelled. I can't really find an exact reason why it was cancelled, but if I had to take a guess, it'd probably be because Disney was working on Disney Plus and they didn't want their content on a potential competitor's platform, which might be why all the Defenders shows migrated to Disney Plus. That's my theory, but Netflix could have just cancelled it for a laugh. Sounds about right for them. But regardless, the music, the writing, the characters, the costumes, the choreography, all amazing. And it's because Netflix and Marvel let these people do their jobs. And this is why the Daredevil show worked and the Daredevil movie failed. Obviously, Netflix had the advantage of a show. You have more time to flesh out characters and make a more airtight story with a 13-episode show than a 2-hour movie. I'm not saying the people behind Daredevil 2003's production didn't like what they were making. The entire cast all say that the director, Mark Steven Johnson, had an undying passion for the character of Daredevil and the movie, and I think he could have cooked under better circumstances. But because of studio meddling from Fox, the movie sucked. Even the costumes suffered. I'm serious, looking at the behind the scenes footage, Ben Affleck's Daredevil suit was bright red. And I'm not going to say it's good, but it's definitely better than just darkening it in post. New Regency and Fox were so scared it would look too much like Spider-Man that they just ruined it altogether. And it's disappointing that because the studio messed up its own movie, Daredevil was just blacklisted from anything outside of comics for 10 years. But that's not me saying if the studio let him cook, it'd be a masterpiece, from his own words.
Looking back on it, one of the mistakes I made with the film was wanting to put everything in. I wanted to do Daredevil's origin story, and I wanted to do the Elektra saga, and I wanted to introduce Bullseye and Foggy. I wanted everything to be in there, but the film could only support so much. And then when you're told to cut a half hour out and make it more of a love story, things start to feel rushed and not quite right. right. It's a fan thing. When you love something so much, you want to tell it all.
To give him credit though, at least the director's cut had a coherent story. Like, it isn't perfect, but it's 10 times better than the theatrical cut, and his love for the character is obvious. But I can't say the same for the future of Daredevil, more specifically what Disney has been cooking up. Daredevil Born Again will be a sequel show to the first 3 seasons of the Netflix show. It was announced at Comic-Con in 2022 and that it would have an 18-episode first season.
It is going to be an 18-episode first season. 18 episodes. Daredevil Born Again.
When filming rolled around and 6 of the planned 18 episodes were filmed, there was a creative overhaul. Apparently Marvel looked over the footage and really didn't like what they saw. Foggy Nelson, best friend of Matt Murdock, was going to get killed in the first episode. Because of that, Matt would have retired as Daredevil and wouldn't have suited up again until the 4th episode. Karen wasn't even going to be in the show until the overhaul, so I guess she would have been written out or something. I don't know how that would have worked, but whatever. So they decided to bring in the writer from the Punisher series to be showrunner and try to get more in line with the tone of the Netflix show. They also brought in Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who had previously worked on Loki Season 2 and Moon Knight. This honestly does not instill a lot of confidence in me. At least it's better than killing off Foggy and writing Karen out completely, but still, it seems like this show has some shaky foundations. I'm fine with the Punisher writer being the showrunner. It would make sense to get someone that actually worked on one of the shows to help find the right tone, but I didn't like Moon Knight or Loki that much, so these guys certainly wouldn't have been my first choice. I love Daredevil, and if this new show is good, it'll make for a fine Season 4, but if it's bad, then I'll have to make a second video on how Disney ruined Daredevil. But I don't want to do that. I've been Antradox, subscribe, and click here to watch me talk about the downfall of Plants vs. Zombies.